In this video, I'm going to show you how to flash a device to Tasmota Firmware without the need for soldering. The device I'll be using is a Toya motion sensor. We will need to attach wires from this chip to a USB TTL serial adapter. The recommended one I've put in the description. On the chip, there's 4 connections that are needed. There's the transmit, receive, the ground, and the 3-volt power. There's also a temporary connection, the GP100, which needs to connect to the ground during the boot up, which we only need for around 5 seconds. The USB to TTL adapter, this needs to have a 3.3 volt power output. So on my adapter, I can select the 3.3 volts on this jumper as shown. To help us make connections to the chip's points without soldering, we will use what is called a BDM frame. This allows us to lower probe pins, which come with the frame, onto the connections that we need. The probe pins have a Crocodile clip at the end of them to attach wires, which we can then connect to the TTL adapter. The Crocodile clips at the end of the probe pins attach onto what are called Dupont connectors. In this clip you can see the ground connection, and you can see another clip that's attached to it in white. This then goes to the GP100 point on the chip, and it only stays there for around 5 seconds during boot, and then you take it off again. So now that everything's connected, we'll just try the flashing process. So first, make sure the USB TTL adapter is not connected to the computer at the moment. Then we need to get the wire intended for GP100, the one that's clipped to the ground, and hold this onto the chip's GP100 point. Whilst holding this with one hand, with the other hand, plug in the USB TTL adapter to the computer. On this device, you should see a blue light come on and then go out after around 5 seconds. Just keep hold for a further 2 seconds and then remove. Now on the computer, if you go into the control panel and click System and then select Device Manager, navigate down the list and expand the ports section, and you should see a new COM port listed, and in my case it is COM5. Open the Tasmotizer application and then select the correct COM port for the adapter. We'll first make a backup of the original firmware on the Toya motion device. So just tick where it says Save Original Firmware. Under the image, you can also select the release and then just select Tasmota.bin. Then click the Tasmotize button. This should now start to back up the original firmware. Once complete, just click OK. For some reason I couldn't get it to flash immediately afterwards, so I had to redo the process again. So I disconnected the USB cable from the computer. Then again go through the process of holding the GP100 wire to the chip and then plugging in the USB cable again. Now we can just untick the backup original firmware and then this time click Tasmotize, and it should now flash the Tasmota firmware. So now once it's complete and it restarts, it should now pop up with a Wi-Fi network of Tasmota. With Android in the Wi-Fi settings, if you just click onto the network, it should open an IP address of the device, or you can click on the settings icon to the right of it and find the IP address of the device. When the web page opens, we can just enter the Wi-Fi details. Once it's rebooted and it's on your network, we then just need to enter some initial settings. So if we go to the Tasmota devices repository and then find the specific device that you flashed, we then just need to copy the configuration string, and then once we go back to the device's web page by opening the IP address, on the main menu, if you just click Configuration, then click Configure Other, then we just need to paste that string we copied into the template field, and then just make sure the tick box Activate is enabled. And then we just click Save and the device should restart again. With my specific device that I'm flashing, this motion sensor, there's also an extra setting that we need to make it work correctly. So back on the Tasmota repository page, I just copy this extra setting. Then I just need to go into the console of the Tasmota device, then just paste it into the console and click Enter. And now this motion sensor should be working correctly.